It started with a fart joke. Not just any fart joke, a perfectly timed, visually blessed piece of millennial satire that featured a crying Leonardo DiCaprio, a photoshopped Popeye's biscuit, and the phrase when your startup promises unlimited PTO, but schedules a Zoom on your funeral day. I posted it to our company Twitter during my lunch break, mostly to fill the dead space between our usual 3-like infographics and soul-draining Thought Leadership Tuesday posts. 12 hours later, we had 2.4 million impressions. My phone was vibrating so hard I thought I'd left it on a washing machine. I refreshed the feed and saw that we'd been retweeted by at least 3 blue-check VCs, 2 meme pages with feral in their handles, and a comedian I once cried over in 2009. The comments were a flood of finally, a brand that gets it, and whoever runs this account deserves a raise and a pizza. For about 5 minutes, I felt something I hadn't in a long time, pride, like I actually mattered in the sea of bland tech mediocrity. Our CEO even slacked me a gif of Lizzo saying YAS Queen. I should have known then that the Grim Reaper wears a Patagonia vest. By the way, if you're enjoying this story, I know 97% of y'all are listening without hitting that little subscribe button. Fix that. Seriously. One tap means the world to us and alike. That's basically a shot of espresso straight into the team's creative bloodstream. Keeps the stories coming, keeps the memes spicy. Anyway, morning after the viral quake, I roll into work wearing the same hoodie I slept in, caffeinated into oblivion, ready to be the office hero. The marketing team was still buzzing. Someone even printed the meme and taped it to the kombucha fridge. People high-fived me. Our engagement metrics were through the roof. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a too old to be quirky creative dinosaur. I felt seen. At 10:03 a.m., I got an Outlook ping. Can you step into HR? Bring your laptop. No emoji, no explanation. Just sterile doom. I walked into that beige little morgue of a conference room and saw Melissa from HR perched like a crow across the table, flanked by 2 VPs I barely recognized, one of whom looked like he'd been born in a LinkedIn profile. I sat down. Melissa folded her hands and said, "Claire, we're concerned about yesterday's post. It appears you used external material without clearance, which could expose us to legal risks." I blinked. External? I made that meme. I've had that Photoshop file on my desktop since 2018. I posted it on my old blog way before I even worked here. She nodded like she was watching a child explain how clouds work. Nevertheless, you posted it on a company channel, without approval. This constitutes unauthorized use of intellectual property. It took me a second to realize what was happening. They weren't worried. They weren't confused. They were rehearsed. The taller VP chimed in. His voice dipped in condescension cologne. "You're obviously talented, Claire, but we can't operate on emotion. You'll understand once things calm down." I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just sat there, blinking at the bland carpet pattern while my career was neatly folded, stapled, and incinerated in real time. They handed me a manila envelope like I'd just lost a custody battle. Security walked me to my desk. On my way out, I passed the meme, still taped to the fridge, still getting laughs. I took a photo of it, because somewhere deep in my bones I knew this wasn't the end. It was the opening act. The email subject line was separation package signature required. That's how it started, not even a call. Just a PDF sent to my personal inbox like they were offloading a broken office chair. I opened it on my cracked iPad, sitting on my couch in sweatpants with a wine stain from 2017. 5 pages of legalese, buzzwords, and 1 polite throat punch. By signing, you agree not to pursue further action related to the incident in question. Incident? Oh, you mean the meme that made you internet famous for 48 hours while your CFO was still learning how to post a GIF. Let me back up. The day they fired me, like officially fired me, it wasn't even with tears or fake sympathy. It was clinical. I tried to explain calmly, like a rational adult. I created that meme in 2018. It was part of a series I used on my personal blog back when I freelanced. I still have the PSD files. The metadata shows the original creation date. I can send it to you. Melissa from HR gave me that blank, Botox smooth stare like she'd already mentally checked into her 430 Pilates class. It's not about who made it. It's about the company's risk profile. Per legal, can't afford gray areas. The short VP, the one with a faux compassion mustache, nodded and added, "You're obviously passionate. But passion without structure creates liability." I wanted to laugh. Instead, I said, "So you're firing me for doing the one thing that actually worked." Melissa leaned forward, folding her hands like she was praying to the god of HR liabilities. You'll understand when you're less emotional. That was the moment it clicked. I wasn't a person in that room. I was an inconvenience, a rogue spark in their sterile little death machine. They didn't care that I'd boosted engagement by 700%. They didn't care that the only reason anyone was talking about the company was because I made people laugh for once. They cared about control. I broke their illusion of control. When I didn't sign the separation agreement, they started calling it non-cooperation. Then came the veiled threats. No references, blacklisted clients. Don't want to burn bridges in this industry. The cherry on top, they removed all traces of the meme from the company's social accounts, except for one slide in the quarterly presentation deck that still showed the traffic spike, with my name cropped out. That night, I sat in the dark staring at the soft blue glow of my laptop. I opened my old blog, the one where the meme first lived, long before the job, before the corporate cage. I found the original post, timestamped, dated, my writing voice in raw, early form. There it was, the spark they tried to bury. I started screenshotting, saving files, downloading backups from Google Drive and Dropbox. Anything I had that proved this was mine. And as I archived my past, another thought surfaced like oil on water. If they're this eager to bury me, what else are they hiding? The rage wasn't loud. It was quiet, focused, cold. The kind of rage that doesn't punch walls, reads legal blogs and registers domain names at 2 a.m. I texted a friend from my old co-working days. Hey, remember that meme I showed you back in 2019? Still got that Slack thread? She replied 3 minutes later, hell yeah, why? You going nuclear? Not yet, I thought, but I was circling the launch codes. The floor of my apartment looked like the aftermath of a printer explosion. Receipts, hard drives, sticky notes with passwords I barely recognized. Everything dumped from drawers and boxes like I was prepping for an IRS audit and a nervous breakdown at the same time. I hadn't slept. My coffee tasted like anxiety and regret, and I was wearing a hoodie that hadn't seen daylight since Obama was in office. I found the sketches first, a crumpled sketchpad from 2017, wedged behind an old rice cooker. Page after page of rough concepts. Leo crying, corporate buzzwords in Comic Sans, a sad little calendar that said work-life balance with all the weekends crossed out. It was all there. Every part of the meme they claimed I'd stolen. Then I found the big one, a blog draft in Google Docs, titled, Why Startup Culture is Just Catholic Guilt with Free Cold Brew, dated June 14th, 2018. It had the meme right in the middle. Same colors, same joke, same sarcastic caption. Version that blew up on Twitter wasn't some off-the-cuff miracle. It was a callback. A remix of my own damn joke, and they'd fired me for it. That's when my stomach dropped, because if I made it and it went viral while I was employed, then there was a chance they could still claim it as theirs, especially if I hadn't protected it. That's when I remembered something I read years ago. Ideas aren't worth much. IP protection is. I opened a dozen tabs, diving into every trademark blog I could find. Usptogov became my new boyfriend. I learned about classes, specimens, first use in commerce, Section 1A filings. My eyes were fried, but my blood was humming. At 3:42 a.m., I officially submitted the trademark application. Class 35, Advertising and Marketing. I uploaded the blog screenshots, the sketches, the metadata from Photoshop, everything. Clicked submit like I was pulling a grenade. I had no clue if it would be approved. But at least the clock had started, and I wasn't just sitting there letting them bulldoze my name. 2 days later, I got the email. Not from the government, from them. Dear Miss Holloway, it began, which already felt like a slap in the face. I hadn't been amiss to them when they were reposting my content on Slack and high-fiving each other about finally breaking 10K followers. Pursuant to your recent actions involving our brand presence online, please be advised that continued use of material associated with company name-s social channels may constitute infringement. We are prepared to pursue legal remedies including, but not limited to, a cease and desist order and financial restitution for damages to the brand. They even attached a PDF titled Damage Assessment. Viral incident. I didn't cry. I didn't panic. Saved it to a folder titled Lawsuit Fuel. Then I called my friend Tasha, the one from the co-working space. Hey, I said, remember when I showed you that meme back in like 2019? You made fun of the font? She laughed. Girl, I roasted you for using papyrus. I need you to find that thread. Slack, email, anything. She didn't ask why. She just said, give me an hour. While I waited, I sat on the floor, staring at the spinning fan above me. The fear was still there, but something else had settled in next to it, something quieter, heavier. It wasn't revenge. Not yet, it was proof, and I was going to dig up every last shred. The envelope came certified mail, thick as a phone book and smug as a country club brunch. The return address screamed white-collar war, and inside was a lawsuit so bloated with corporate gaslighting, I could practically smell the boardroom breath through the paper. Count I, unauthorized use of company IP. Count Roman 2, defamation of brand. Count Roman 3, breach of confidentiality. They wanted damages, real ones, 6 figures worth. A cease and desist so broad I couldn't even tweet about office chairs without risking contempt. They claimed I misrepresented ownership of viral materials associated with company name and had intentionally misled the public for personal gain. But the part that hit the hardest, the character assassination, buried in paragraph 7, after enough legal throat clearing to fill a Senate hearing, they described me as emotionally erratic, dismissive of internal procedures, and my personal favorite, resistant to collaborative brand alignment. They made it sound like I was the Joker in a pantsuit, hurling memes like Molotov cocktails while cackling in Comic Sans. And suddenly, I could feel how they were framing it. Not just a copyright claim. This was a personality hit job, career kneecapping. They weren't just trying to win, they wanted to salt the earth behind me. I paced my apartment, rereading that garbage again and again, trying to convince myself I didn't care, that it was all bluster, that they'd eventually fold and settle. But the thing about humiliation, it doesn't just sting, it lingers. Then came the Reddit thread. I was up late again, insomnia fueled by panic and legal blogs, and I stupidly searched my name. Buried in a tech gossip subreddit was a post titled X-Brand Strategist Implodes, after meme meltdown eyes, posted by someone calling themselves Startup T-Spill 97. The post had screenshots, internal Slack messages, half-truths, a warped version of my firing that made me sound like a drama queen who went rogue for clout. Comments poured in. Boomers don't understand how to go viral without self-destructing. She sounds like a nightmare to manage. Guess this is what happens when HR tries to be funny. And right there, halfway down the thread, was a reply from someone who had to be on my old team. They mentioned things only someone in the room would have known. The timing of the HR meeting, the name of the VP with the coffee breath, even the kombucha fridge. They ended their comment with, "She should have been grateful we kept her around that long." That was the moment the fear cracked. I sat still, way a forest does before lightning hits. Then I opened my laptop and typed 4 words into Google, top intellectual property attorneys. I found one with a face like a shark and Yelp reviews that used phrases like terrifyingly effective and made the other side cry in discovery. Her name was Camille Stone, and she answered her own phone. I explained everything, the meme, the job, the blog post, the sudden lawsuit, the Reddit thread, the attempted erasure. He didn't say much. Just a long exhale and then, "They think you won't fight, let's prove them wrong." By the end of the call, I'd Venmoed a retainer fee so big I almost threw up. But when I closed my laptop, something shifted. The humiliation was still there, but it had a roommate now. Vengeance. Discovery was supposed to be boring, a parade of PDFs and calendar invites, a slog through corporate sludge so dense even lawyers needed espresso ivs. But Camille treated Discovery like blood sport. She didn't just request documents, she hunted them. Subpoenas flew out of her office like throwing knives, and 3 weeks in, we cracked the vault. It started with emails, thousands, boring at first, scheduling, lunch orders, some marketing chatter. Then Camille flagged a thread with the subject line, "Claire's meme brand risk or opportunity." The first reply came from the VP of marketing, guy who once asked me if memes needed hashtags or hyperlinks. He wrote, "Honestly, Claire's stuff is funny, but she's, old Twitter funny. Feels off-brand for Gen Z. Old Twitter funny, like I was some relic from the landline era." Then came a reply from the CEO himself, Mr. Lizzo GIF. "We keep her around, milk a few more posts, then reshuffle. She's a flight risk anyway. No synergy with long-term vision." Another exec chimed in, "We should prep a version of that meme with brand polish. Own the style, cut the weirdness. If we control the look, she's just noise." And there it was, strategy, not reaction, premeditation. But the kill shot came from someone in legal, time-stamped before I was fired. If we move quickly, we can terminate for IP violation and retain brand equity. She doesn't have protection in place. File the suit before she does. Lock it down. followed by another gem. We'll fire her, then own it. I didn't cry, I laughed. One of those low, bitter chuckles that comes from somewhere behind your ribs. Camille, on the other end of the call, was dead silent. Then she said they just handed us their own news. There were more. Slack messages from the team's private channel, full of memes about me, ironically. One captioned "Meme Mommy's Meltdown" showed a photoshopped grave with my name on it. Another read, "Claire's new gig, hot takes from the retirement home." But the piece de resistance, a slide deck titled Q3 Virality Plan with bullet points like recycle meme cadence, develop Claire-style humor framework, and I kid you not, remove dependency on unstable creative resources. I was the plan, right down to being eliminated. Camille put it best, they built their next quarter on your bones. That's when everything turned. I wasn't the defendant anymore. I was the prosecution's best exhibit. We rewrote the countersuit with teeth. IP theft, wrongful termination, reputational damage. We named names, attached emails, timestamped everything like it was evidence in a murder trial. The strategy shifted overnight. The moment they saw what we had, their tone changed. No more chest puffing. No more smug legalese. Now it was open to mediation and exploring amicable resolutions. Too late, you can't unlight a match, especially when you soaked the whole place in gasoline first. Camille called it a symphony of receipts. I called it war paint. Every late-night blog post, every meme draft, every Slack thread where I'd workshopped a punchline with people now pretending I didn't exist, we collected it all. We pulled metadata off Photoshop, files down to the exact second. Blog posts with timestamps buried in old RSS feeds, archived tweets with retweets from people who now worked at major firms. We even subpoenaed my former team's internal Jira board, because nothing says we plotted to steal this like a ticket, labeled Recreate Viral Meme Format, Remove Claire Tone. It was airtight. Camille said she hadn't seen a chain of digital evidence this strong since a Silicon Valley intern tried to patent a pizza emoji. And then we released just enough to the wild. Camille wasn't dumb. She knew how PR worked. We didn't leak the whole case, just a breadcrumb trail. A LinkedIn post from me, simple and sharp. When a company fires you for hurting their brand with a meme you created before they hired you, then sues you for using it again, but forgets you kept the receipts. Buckle up. Attached, a screenshot of the meme from my 2018 blog post with the original upload timestamp. By lunch, it had 8,000 likes. By dinner, it was trending on Reddit under r/marketing fails and r/fuckyourboss. Someone cross-posted it to Twitter. Then a former coworker quietly, anonymously, sent me a message. You didn't deserve what they did. I still have the Slack where you first pitched that meme. Let me know if it helps. Attached was a screen recording of the channel, my original message, word for word, 2 years before it ever hit the company feed. I cried. Not because I was sad. Done enough of that. I cried because for the first time in this entire circus, I didn't feel like I was losing. I felt visible. Then the trickle became a stream. Another ex-colleague forwarded me internal surveys where I was praised as the only reason I don't mute the brand. Someone else sent a video clip from a Zoom call where the VP joked about taking her stuff and giving it a facelift. All unsolicited, all damning. Camille took everyone and added it to our evidence binder, which was now the size of a Bible, if the Bible included email chains and Slack memes. When she sent the final case file to opposing counsel, she CC'd the judge. Just a little flex. That's when the offers started rolling in. The company's lawyer sent a proposal, low 5 figures and a mutual NDA, to avoid unnecessary reputational damage. Camille replied with one sentence, "We're just getting started." Suddenly, they wanted to talk. Suddenly, I was the risk. My posts, my followers, the growing suspicion that this wasn't just one disgruntled creative, it was a parable. They called again. This time higher, 6 figures, confidential. I'd walk away with a nice little hush check and let them keep their reputation. I looked at Camille across the Zoom screen. She didn't have to say a word. Neither did I. No deal, because some receipts aren't for settling, for setting the record on fire. The courtroom smelled like dust and decades-old bureaucracy, and still somehow cleaner than that startup's breakroom fridge. Camille was calm, coiled like a python in heels. I walked in clutching a reusable mug with the meme printed right on it, Leo crying, biscuit in hand, funeral day Zoom and all. Some PR girl from the opposition visibly flinched. That mug would become the most expensive piece of ceramic in the company's history. One felt like a throat held tight. The judge, A no-nonsense woman in bifocals and a stare that could bleach paint wasted no time. The company's legal rep, a smug, suit-slicked partner named Preston, opened with a grand gesture about brand protection and rogue actors. He called me a disgruntled ex-employee lashing out. The jury looked unimpressed. One even stifled a yawn. Then Camille stood up and casually dragged their case through the legal wood chipper. It had a stack of exhibits so high it looked like she was preparing to teach a graduate seminar. Timestamps, file metadata, blog drafts, Slack archives, the JIRA tickets. A chronological paper trail from idea to execution, all predating my employment. And then came the emails, the ones where they bragged about firing me before they ever accused me of wrongdoing. Camille paced slowly, reading the one where the VP said, "We'll fire her, then own it. Let it hang in the air like a fart in church." She didn't even look at the jury. She knew they were already with us. Preston tried to recover with a slideshow of my supposed brand damage. It included screenshots of Reddit threads, some with titles like Claire the Clown Meme Lady, as if anonymous internet trolls were somehow a valid source. One juror actually snorted. Then came the highlight. A courtroom sketch artist had been quietly scribbling through it all. During a break, someone snapped a photo of her sketch. It showed me calm, unbothered, sipping from my meme mug with the company's CEO in the background sweating through his shirt. That image hit Twitter before lunch and detonated. Within hours, TikTok was dubbing audio over it. A meme of the meme trial. Poetic, really. But the real fireball landed on day 3, when they called their star witness, the VP of marketing. The same guy who had once told me memes were just viral clip art. He sat down all buttoned up, hair gelled within an inch of its life, and tried to play dumb. "I don't recall authorizing any use of her personal content," he said. Camille raised an eyebrow. "Did you write this?" She clicked a screen and up popped an email. "She's funny. Keep her on until Q3, then we shift tone and retarget using her structure." He blinked. Well, that doesn't sound like." She clicked again. "Claire's tone is fire. Let's extract what we can and phase her out before she asks for credit." Silence. The judge leaned forward. "Are you denying authorship?" His lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl into a wall socket. I may have. I don't recall the context." Camille didn't even smile. She just said, "The records show the witness is now unsure whether he plotted an employee's termination in order to harvest her intellectual property." The jury's faces changed. You could feel it, the shift. No longer company vs. former employee. Now it was David vs. Goliath, and Goliath just farted during his testimony. I sat still, sipped from my mug. The same meme they said ruined their brand was now being sketched by court artists and memed by the public. Except this time I owned it. And the execs, they were unraveling in real time. The court hadn't ruled yet. But in that moment, we all knew where this was heading. And the storm hadn't even landed yet. The judge's voice was low, but each word sliced like it had been dipped in battery acid. She held the printed emails like they were radioactive, her glasses perched low, staring down at the defense table with the kind of quiet, judicial rage that could make a man forget how to breathe. She began reading aloud, not summaries, not paraphrasing, but verbatim. "We'll fire her, then own it." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. "Remove dependency on unstable creative resources. She doesn't have IP protection. File before she does. Lock it down." No one breathed. "Claire's old. She won't fight." The air turned molasses thick. One juror actually recoiled. Another shook their head in disgust. Defense team tried to object midway through the third email, claiming contextual ambiguity. The judge overruled with a raised palm that shut them up like a mute button from hell. She set the stack of papers down with deliberate weight. "I've reviewed over 400 pages of testimony and evidence," she said. "And what's clear, what is crystal, is that this case isn't about a meme. It's about an employer who exploited a woman's creativity, fired her the moment it became profitable, and then attempted to weaponize the legal system to silence her." Preston, the company's attorney, started to stand. She didn't even glance at him. "Sit," he sat. Camille stood, one hand on the podium, the other resting lightly on our war-thick binder of receipts. "This isn't just theft," she said, her voice steady, calm, honed. "It's arrogance. The belief that you can fire a creator, steal her work, gaslight her, then sue her into silence. But creativity isn't disposable. And this woman, this force, is not noise. She's the reason your brand was even noticed. And she kept the receipts, dead silence. The kind of silence that has weight. That makes your bones feel it. The judge turned to the clerk and spoke her ruling like she was flipping the final page of a thriller novel she'd hated reading. Claire Holloway is the sole and rightful owner of the trademark in question. Court further awards her quarterly licensing rights at $200,000 per quarter for any use of the meme or derivative works by the plaintiff, retroactive to initial filing. Additionally, the plaintiff is responsible for all legal fees. Boom. It didn't feel real, not at first. I just sat there blinking like maybe I hadn't heard it right. Camille nudged my elbow. "That's you," she whispered. "That's yours." There were no cheers, no courtroom confetti, just the stunned silence of a billion-dollar brand learning it just got legally pantsed in front of the public. The CEO looked like he'd swallowed a scorpion. The VP of marketing had his head in his hands. Melissa from HR was nowhere to be found. Poof. As I walked out of the courthouse, cameras started flashing. A journalist shouted something about meme justice. Someone else asked how it felt. I didn't answer, just held up the mug with Leo's crying face and kept walking. Because this wasn't about virality anymore. This was about taking back everything they tried to erase, and then charging rent. They say justice is blind, but that day she had a mic. We were packing up when the judge, robe still on, voice bone dry and sharp as cracked glass, looked directly at the plaintiff's table and said it. No preamble. No legal footnotes. Just, next time, don't fire your talent. He didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. The courtroom mic caught every syllable. A local reporter clipped the audio, added subtitles, and by the next morning it was the #1 trending sound on TikTok. Meme pages stitched it onto scenes from The Office, Legally Blonde, even Game of Thrones. One guy got it tattooed on his arm. No joke. Serif font, right above a gavel. Suddenly, I wasn't just the meme lady who sued her job. I was folklore. Marketing Twitter renamed me St. Clair of IP. LinkedIn influencers reposted my blog draft like it was a sacred scroll. Quiet emails started trickling in from burnt-out creatives all over the country. You gave me hope. I showed your case to my boss. Our approval process now has my name on it. You're why I didn't settle. It wasn't a victory parade. It was something better, a shift, a pulse change in the industry. The company, not so lucky. Stock dipped hard the day after the verdict, especially after Business Insider ran a headline that read, "Fired from meme, now she owns it, and their quarterly budget." The board issued a limp apology letter about reevaluating internal culture, and the CEO quietly stepped down to spend more time with family. Translation: they threw him overboard to stop the bleeding. My licensing deal went into effect 2 weeks later. Every time they so much as breathe near that meme, I get paid. Quarterly, automatically. Sometimes I check the deposit just to feel something. Camille, of course, took a new case by the end of the month. I heard she's representing a cartoonist being sued by their NFT startup. Shark never sleeps. As for me, my mornings are quiet now. No Slack pings, no forced synergy meetings about fonts. Just peace. I wake up, pour a cup of chamomile, open my laptop to new emails. A campaign pitch here. A consulting request there. A brand with a sense of humor looking for a spark. The kind of people who say thank you instead of sign this NDA so we can steal your voice. And behind me on the wall, framed in soft oak, hangs the meme that started it all. Leo, the biscuit, the Zoom invite to my funeral. I sip my tea, smile, and click reply. You're the real stars of the corporate jungle. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, or I'll flick the switch on your old cubicle memories.